All of the demons opened their eyes to find themselves surrounded by what looked to be an empty void. Once they took a closer look, they realized many memories were floating around. They soon recognized this was the inside of Yuki's mind. They looked closely and only saw memories from her early childhood or from after she became a demon slayer. So, what exactly are we looking for? Doma asked, looking around at each of the memories, reaching out to touch one of them. We are looking for a memory where she's hiding books, Suwata explained, looking at him. Her eyes widened in panic when he tried to touch one and quickly pulled his hand away. Also, don't touch anything in this space. You'll only be causing her harm. Understand? She asked, giving Doma a cold look. Isn't that the point of us demons? To cause pain to humans? Doma replied in a teasing tone, reaching to touch another one. Akaza quickly pulled Doma away and gave him an ice-cold glare. She said don't touch anything, so keep your hands to yourself. You're such a buzzkill, Akaza. Just let me do what I want. Suwata has a task to do, so stop trying to interfere. Both of you need to keep your mouths shut. You're distracting me, Suwata calmly stated, looking back with an annoyed glance. Sorry, I'll keep him from being a distraction, Akaza bluntly stated, pulling Doma away from everything. Good. We cannot have Suwata lose focus now. We have to find these books at all costs. Muzan calmly spoke, walking up to Suwata from behind before standing beside her. Do you think you'll be able to find it? I should be able to. However, we'll have to dive deeper into her mind. These are memories she remembers a lot, either because they are recent or cherished childhood memories. In order to find more locked away memories, we'll need to dive deeper. She spoke, swiping through the memories carefully. Are you sure we'll be able to find them here? I'm positive. Give me a few minutes to search deeper in her mind. I'll let you know if I find anything of interest. All right. I'll keep Doma and Akaza busy. Suwata nodded and deeply focused, making her hand glow to dive into suppressed memories deep in the subconscious of Yuki's mind. As she looked, she found that a certain part of her memory was closed off. She walked over to that space and was quickly met with a massive amount of demonic power. Suwata was caught off guard by the sudden change in the atmosphere, but continued through that space. She walked for what seemed like an eternity until she came across a single memory locked behind a mental barricade. What is this? She muttered, holding out her hand to dive into the memory. Yuki woke up at her desk, finding she had fallen asleep. She saw one of her books on her desk, skimming through it and absorbing all of the information. She smells food coming from her kitchen, but before she went out, she put her books in the secret compartment in her bookcase. So that's where she hid them, Suwata muttered, watching the memory carefully. She reversed the memory to double-check which books she saw Yuki pull before letting the memory play. She debated about pulling out, but she could hear Muzan speaking through her head. Don't pull out of the memory yet. She needs to suffer for not submitting in the first place. Suwata wickedly smiled upon hearing those words and let the memory continue to play. Time for you to pay for causing us all this trouble, Yuki. She let the memory play and saw the family having dinner together. Things looked peaceful. Things looked happy. She watched for a while and soon heard a knock on their home door. Yuki's mother looked up at the door, then looked to her husband. "Were you expecting guests, honey?" "No, I wasn't," the father replied. "It was just supposed to be the three of us tonight. I'll go answer the door to see who it is and what they need." Yuki sat at the table, watching her father answer the door, and her eyes lit up in horror as she watched her father get slaughtered in front of her eyes. She let out a deafening scream as she called out for her father. Her mother screamed at her to run, before drawing her blades to fight Muzan. Yuki ran to her closet and hid, praying that Muzan would leave her home. She hid in the closet for what seemed like hours, even though it was no longer than 10 minutes. She thought he had left, and left her hiding spot to look around. As soon as she came out, she got ambushed. He severely injured her, almost to the point of death. This moment was so vivid in her mind, even if it was suppressed. But Suwata watched as the memory became incredibly hazy and muffled. She was confused why things became this blurry, but only assumed because she was losing consciousness at this point. Suwata wanted to know what was hidden after this moment, and used her blood demon art to clear the memory to view it. Suwata watched as the girl stepped into the door, a girl who wore a demon slayer uniform and carried 2 Nichiren blades. She looked identical to Yuki. They were identical twins. The girl charged towards Muzan, her eyes filled with a fury and sadness, screaming at him as she attacked. Muzan easily stopped her and disarmed her, pinning her to the wall. "That's enough. If you don't want me to kill your sister right here and now, you'll listen to every word I'm about to tell you, Corey." Corey's eyes filled with horror as she looked down at her unconscious sister. She's not dead?" "She's very much alive, but her life is fading quickly. I can save her and make sure she lives. For a price." "What kind of price?" she asked, her eyes still locked on Yuki's body. "I think you know what price you'd have to pay." Muzan spoke, beginning to trail his hand towards her neck. Suwata watched everything that was happening, but began to think to herself. Something stuck out to her. It almost seemed familiar. She watched as Corey got turned into a demon. Muzan turned around and gave Yuki a tiny portion of his blood as well. The more she watched, she started seeing Corey's demonic transformation, but watched as everything started to become staticky. She was confused by why, but things quickly shattered around her as the world of memories broke into thousands of glass shards.